Today's recipe calls for limes and chili powder. We're going to be making chili lime corn tortilla chips, all from scratch. And we're going to keep this a bit healthy and bake them instead of frying them, because I got to keep this no kids, dad bod, and mint condition. It's about swimsuit season. And this recipe is super simple, so if you got some of those booger pickers, let them help, because this is super simple. So with that said, let's get started.
So the first thing we're going to do in a large mixing bowl is mix all of our dry ingredients together. First, we're going to add 1 1/2 cup of instant corn masa flour, a 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, and 1 1/4 teaspoons of chili powder. If you want more of a spicy chip, add more chili powder than what I recommend. This will give us a nice faint chili powder flavor, so it's not too spicy. Next, we're going to zest 3 limes right into our dry ingredients. Use a zester if you have one like this, or bust out the box grater, whichever you have. This method of zesting like this is a bit tricky. It's taken me some practice, but I'm getting better at it. It helps to zest your citrus fruit right over whatever you're making. When you zest it, a small amount of juice will come out of the zest, and small sugar crystals will also come out, giving us more flavor into our chips. And do your best not to get any of the white stuff off of your citrus fruit. It's called the pith, and it's pretty bitter. So once you have all of your limes zested, set them aside. We'll go ahead and use them in the next step. If you are using a zester like this, all you have to do is give it a nice tap, and your lime zest will fall out. And run your finger down the back, just to ensure that you get everything. A little tappy tap. Now that you have all of your dry ingredients in your bowl, grab a whisk and whisk your face off to bring everything together into one nice mixture. Now that you've whisked everything together, we're going to juice our 3 limes. So we're going to roll them out like this. This helps break up the membrane inside the lime, making it easier to juice and giving us a higher yield. This is the same method that we used for our margarita video and our other cocktail video. I'll leave a link in the description so you can go check them out. They both are really delicious. So go ahead and cut your limes right in half. Once you have all of your limes cut in half, start juicing them right into a measuring cup. We're going to need 1 full cup of liquid for this recipe, so this will help gauge how much lime juice we have and how much water we're going to need to add to make 1 full cup. These limes that I used were about medium in size, and I thought it was the perfect amount of lime flavor to our chips. If you want more of a pucker factor, go ahead and use more limes, or use the same amount and just use larger limes. It's really up to you. So go ahead and hulk out and squeeze those limes. Ay, Poppy, you're so strong. Yeah, nobody would actually say that. Oh, it helps to use a handheld squeezer or a juicer like this. This will help ensure that we get as much liquid out of our limes as possible instead of squeezing them or juicing them by hand. And don't worry about the pulp. There's really not a whole lot of pulp in limes, so don't worry about that. Now that you have all your little limeys juiced and you've recovered, we're going to add enough hot water to our measuring cup to make 1 full cup of liquid. So go ahead and pour it right into the same measuring cup with your lime juice. Now that you have 1 full cup of liquid, we're going to add it to our dry ingredients. Go ahead and pour half of your liquid in. Once you have half poured in, we're going to grab a wooden spoon and start mixing everything together to start forming a dough. You can use your hand to mix it in, or use a wooden spoon like I did. After you get the first half cup mixed in, we're going to add the other half cup of liquid and start thoroughly mixing it together to completely form our dough. Then realize that your spoon is worthless at this point and go ahead and scrape it off and start kneading your dough by hand for 5 to 6 minutes, or until a smooth dough ball starts to form. I found it easiest just to knead right in the bowl. It keeps the work surface cleaner, and it ensures that we get all the small bits worked into a large dough ball. Your dough may seem dry, but the more you knead it, the more hydrated it becomes. So when kneading, you're going to push the dough away from you and fold it over, and then push it away from you and fold it back over. And then every now and then you'll turn it a slight 180 degree and push and fold. So just keep repeating that same process until a smooth dough ball starts to form. Then feel free to scrape the side of your bowl with your large dough ball to pick up the small little bits. In the end, your bowl should be smooth and there should be nothing left behind. This is what the final product should look like, a nice smooth dough ball that kind of resembles Play-Doh. Next, we're going to weigh out 1 ounce portions of dough into smaller dough balls. This is totally optional. You can free ball it and make large dough balls to roll out later, I just found this to be a lot easier. Once you weigh out 1 ounce pieces, roll it back into another small, smooth dough ball and throw it back in your bowl. If anything, you can portion out this large dough ball into 4 equal pieces or 6 equal pieces. You want something that's small and manageable to make a nice chip. So blow through all your dough until everything's portioned out. Now that you have all of your dough portioned out to your liking, you're going to cover it with a clean, damp kitchen towel. We're going to let our dough rest covered for about 15 to 20 minutes. This will help ensure that the dough is thoroughly hydrated. While our dough is hydrating, we're going to preheat our oven to 400. Now that your dough has had ample time to rest and fully hydrate, we're going to use a tortilla press to press out our dough balls to make our corn tortilla chips. We use the quart bag method. This is the same method that we used in our corn tortilla video, so I'll leave a link in the description so you can go check that video out as well. I found it best to rotate the tortilla 3 times to get it as thin as possible. Once you have it pressed out, you're going to push on the back side with one hand, pushing the tortilla dough with one hand and grabbing it with your other hand. Then throw it on your cutting board and grab your miniature pizza cutter and cut them into 4s. Or if you're feeling real crazy, you can make whatever shape you choose. Then throw it on a half sheet tray. You can lightly spray your half sheet tray with some cooking spray or use parchment paper if you choose. I found that it helps if you slightly smash the dough ball in the palm of your hands before you press it out with the tortilla press. And this is like the 3rd video we've used the tortilla press for, and we're going to use it in the future, I'm sure. So at this point, you should definitely buy one. They're fairly cheap, and they're really helpful. Now, I also found that the center of the dough ball doesn't really get flattened out that much, so it helps if you use the side of your hand to make it flatter and make everything nice and even. If you don't, the center of your chip will be kind of soft and not crunchy like the outside, and we want a completely crunchy chip all the way around. Then cut it into 4s and throw it on your half sheet tray. And then realize that you don't have any more half sheet trays ready to go, but set the tortilla chip outside of the camera frame and pretend like you threw it on one, even though it's actually just on your work surface. Oops. And if you don't have a tortilla press, I'll show you a method for pressing out your dough balls. So you're going to use the quart bag like we did before and flatten it out with your palms again. But we're going to use our cutting board to flatten out our dough ball. So set it on top and press as hard as you possibly can to push it down. You're going to push it all the way down until your cutting board meets your work surface. So press like you're giving it CPR. This method isn't the best, but it does work and it will work. And this is the best time to use the side of your palm or the side of your hand to help flatten it out even more. Pressing it with a cutting board gives you the perfect circle, but using the side of your hand will thin it out even more. Then again, we'll just cut it into 4s and throw it on our half sheet tray, like we did with the rest of them. So blaze through and do this for the rest of your dough balls until everything has been pressed and cut into chips. Now that you have all of your chips cut and your half sheet trays lined, you're going to grab a pastry brush, or you can use your little fingies. You're going to brush each chip with just a touch of water. This will help ensure that the coarse kosher salt that we sprinkle on the top will stick to our dough to give us a nice delicious chip. Then use your best judgment on how much salt you should use for your chips, or consult your doctor, either or. And yes, I have stepped up my game from the cracker videos and I bought a pastry brush. I'm getting fancy. This is what your chips should look like. Now we'll go ahead and throw them in our preheated baking device. Then we'll set a timer for 10 minutes. You're going to bake your chips for 10 to 12 minutes or until they're nice and golden brown and crispy and crunchy. Now that your timer has gone off, go ahead and pull your chips out of the baking device, and we're going to let them cool down for about 10 minutes to completely set and become nice and crunchy. They look nice and golden brown. Can't wait to try them.
Alright, now that our tortilla chips are done, let's give them a try. The shape on them came out really good. They held their structure in the oven. They're a little bit darker than a normal tortilla chip. That's because of the chili powder in there and because we baked them. Nonetheless, they look like a good tortilla chip, so let's give them a shot. Nice and crunchy. The texture on these came out great. These are nice and crunchy, has a great mouthfeel to them, and that salt is just right. It's nice and salty like a chip should be. Then that salt helps bring out some more of that bright, acidic lime zest and lime juice flavor, which is perfect. Then that chili powder is nice and faint, so they're not too spicy. These would be perfect with guacamole because guacamole is nice and rich and fat, but the lime zest and lime juice in these would help cut through all that. Yeah, these things are delicious. Alright, that's it for this video. Like I said before, this recipe is super easy and super simple, and they're a whole lot better than any of that store-bought stuff you can buy, and there's a lot less ingredients in them. You can throw some fresh cilantro or oregano in them, or you can just make it a flat, plain corn tortilla chip, which nothing wrong with that at all. You can use these for nachos, or eat them with salsa. It's really up to you. So if you enjoyed today's video, give it a like, and also find me on Instagram at TaylorMakes92. I'm gonna try to eat all these chips without getting stabbed in the gums or the roof of my mouth. Yeah, wish me luck. We'll see you on the next one. Swimsuit season, and if you do got some booger pickers, alright, that's it for this video. Like I said, this one is a really super easy recipe. You can throw anything at these things and make them any which way. Still adds a good flavor, but they're nice and bright and fresh from that lemon zest. Nope, it's a lime. Alright, now that our tortilla chips are done, let's give them a try. Now that our tortilla Now that our... Come on now. The texture on these are awesome. They're super crunchy, there's a great mouthfeel to them. Then it just has the right amount of salt, and it's not too salty, but it's perfect for a salty chip. I don't know. Lime juice. This would be perfect. We got... What? Just the right amount of salt. They're just salty enough. I don't know what I'm saying.